Welcome, everybody, to my talk. Um, First of all, I want to kind of poll what the knowledge levels are in this room, like who understands the basic concepts of React. Can you? Okay, great. So I'm going to more or less skip that part because I have a lot of ground to cover with like having three major buzzwords on the slides. But yeah, so first of all, I'm Jelle Akkerman, and I work at a company called Fee since about a year. And when I joined the company, they asked me to build the app I'm going to talk about today. And so Fee is an e-commerce, but it tries to look more like Instagram. So it's kind of like a nice feed with a lot of beautiful imagery. We have our own photo studio, so we make it look really pretty, and then with a small buy button. So because there's so much scrolling going on in our app, we wanted to release a native app, not just like a web app. So you go to a website and it's like a mobile responsive website. We wanted to actually put an app in the App Store. So we started making this mobile app, and before I joined, they already made like a small prototype in Cordova, which is a JavaScript framework kind of thing, which allows you to put your JavaScript app on top of an iOS application. But it just didn't feel right because like all the scrolling and whatsoever, it was so janky and it was not nice. So, but a good thing about it was that you just have to write JavaScript and not Objective-C and Java and all the other things. So we wanted the native experience, but didn't want to write Java and Objective-C. So Facebook to the rescue. Facebook released React Native a bit more than a year ago. It takes the concepts of React. So React is this view layer. React Native is a view layer for iOS, Android, and soon Windows Phone. So you write JavaScript. You don't write Objective-C, no Java. It's just JavaScript. There are no web views, so it actually doesn't orchestrate a DOM, but actual native UI elements. And you use JSX for this. So JSX is this templating language which comes with React. So on Android and on iOS, you have a JavaScript runtime. And this is being used to bridge to the native components. So what the JavaScript runtime does, React Native, is managing all of these native components for you. And then there's a packager which bundles the JavaScript and bundles the Objective-C into a working app. It comes with a lot of cool things out of the box. So you don't have to like take care of writing these yourself. So it comes with scroll views. It comes with like deep linking and the push notifications and all the things you get on native. It all opens it up to the JavaScript world for you. And as a really big advantage is you get live reloading. So instead of what you normally need to do in your Xcode, if you're doing Objective-C, you constantly need to press stop, press play. You're waiting for the simulator to come up again, for your app to reload, for your app to show up again, and it's a really tedious feedback cycle if you're fixing small bugs or try to make big changes. So with React Native, you get around this because JavaScript is resting on top of this on this runtime. You can actually swap out the JavaScript. So you can swap out your application while it's running. and you don't have to touch Xcode. That's one of the big advantages. So since you can swap out this JavaScript, you can actually also do this in production apps. So an app which is already in the App Store, you can swap out the JavaScript. So until a couple of months ago, Apple had actually an approval time of 2 weeks. So you would send your app bundle to Apple, and it would take 2 weeks to get your app back, which is tedious, especially if you have some hot fixes in there. So this allows you to actually, in your running app, say like, okay, the next time the user opens up the app, they will have the new version. Microsoft has a service for this. It's called Code Push. It's kind of like a hosting for this JavaScript bundle, and it comes with an SDK which takes care of the versioning. Okay, React Native. Then there is Clojurescript. Clojurescript is Clojure, but then compiles to JavaScript. So I stopped writing JavaScript 3 years ago because I did it for a long time, and at one point I was like, there should be a better language out there which can handle the same targets. And at that moment in time, Om came out, which is a wrapper for React. And it allows you to write this really nice Clojurescript syntax in combination with all of these nice JavaScript libraries. And it made it just way more sane. So it's Clojure compiled to JavaScript. Clojure is a Lisp, so it comes with a lot of parentheses. And but that makes it really consistent. The language hasn't changed for, there were no breaking changes for like 4 versions now. And it is super simple because it's a Lisp. And one of the big upsides is that all values in the language are immutable by default. So where you normally in JavaScript in combination with React would use like immutable.js, you don't have to do this anymore because it comes with the language, it's native. And because it's compiled and it goes through this Google Clojure compiler, it catches a lot of errors on runtime. Not as much as like Elm, but it makes your code way more robust anyway. Another cool thing about Clojurescript, if you would use it with React or React Native, that it's often faster than normal JavaScript. Because of all these immutable values, you can really quickly check for changes. But also because the code is advanced compiled, which means that it optimizes a lot of things for you. More things I don't like about JavaScript was the whole build tooling, so the whole webpack grunt, whatever. That's not needed anymore because Clojurescript comes with its own build tooling, Leiningen or Boot, and they're both completely self-contained and come with like hot reloading and whatever out of the box. It works really well with JavaScript, so you can use existing JavaScript libraries, and you can also export to the JavaScript world. So if you would make a library in Clojurescript, you can actually use it from JavaScript as well. And source maps, which is handy for debugging. So some cool things which come because it's Clojure. There are a lot of cool things going on in the academic world, and they're being ported to Clojure constantly, or being stolen from other languages, like logic programming, pattern matching, so you might know this from like Haskell or Erlang, CSP, so the channels in Go, like asynchronous programming, that's all in Clojurescript, and you can use this on top of JavaScript. Since recently, you can also compile Clojurescript within Clojurescript, so which is quite cool. But Anyway, enough praises. Let's merge them together. Let's take this cool platform called React Native and try to do some Clojure script on top of it. So what do we get extra having these two coming together? So at the heart of Clojure, there's this concept of interactive development. You want to be able to inspect all the state going everywhere. You want to be able to execute code on the fly. There's this REPL, which is rock solid and allows you to build your program from the command line. And so you get this within React Native as well, as I'll show you in a bit. And because it's all live, you can even run it on multiple devices at the same time. So let me show you a demo on how you would do interactive coding. Okay. So on the right side, you see the simulator, which is a running iOS simulator, and it runs my React Native app. On the left side, you see Cursive, which is a Clojure editor for IntelliJ, and this is the running program on the side. So you see here, that's my state, that's the counter. It's 0, it starts from 0, and it's being incremented every 500 milliseconds. Here's the view, which is it's simple, says hello world, and it shows the counter. So what we can do is we can run commands in our simulator. So if I evaluate this alert, I can make it show up in the simulator. I can also do this on running devices. I can also run this in production. I could theoretically do this on people's phones in their with their version which they got from the App Store. We can also interact with the state of the program. So I'm now going to reset the counter. And I can also update my views. So let's say, oh, here we go. So if I save it now, it will keep the state running. You see that the counter didn't get reset, but it updated all the views. So that's something which is like at the heart of React. Yeah, so just a small demo to show how you would do this. Yeah, so this would be like your regular day of doing React Native in combination with Clojurescript. You would develop your programs that way. Okay, so a bit about our app, how we managed to build this. And it was quite successfully because although it was like bleeding edge technology, because like React Native was maybe like 1 month old when we started using it, and there was no tooling for Clojurescript yet on top of it, so we had to quite hack it in. It was a big risk, but we managed to get a first version of the app running in 1 month. I made the design and I did most of the layouting, and there was somebody else doing the connections with the backend. It was great because the performance was just rock solid out of the box, which I completely didn't expect after the Cordova accident. And surprisingly stable. We didn't have to do any hot fixes so far, which is great. So yeah, we released it like, well, a bit less than a year ago. Here's a small, oh no, wait, sorry. And we immediately got featured by Apple, which is quite cool. So we've been seeing a lot of people using it, and this is how it looks. Is it starting? So we tied it in with the Facebook SDK, for example. So we're using just the Objective-C SDK. We made a small bridge, which all like React Native has like a lot of tools for this. So the native scroll views, we have some carousels going on. The transitions are all native, so it does the navigator takes part of handling the views for you. This is actually an old version of the app. I can all invite you to check out the actual app and see how it feels. We have some basic search functionality. Yeah. So far positive. It's fast because there are no web views involved, so the scrolling feels super native. We already knew React and Clojurescript, so that was kind of like a head start because React Native is really like React, as I'll show you in a bit how it looks. And because it's like on the intersection of like 3 rich ecosystems, we could just pick from whatever ecosystem we want. And because it's Clojurescript and we were already using some Clojurescript on our website, we could reuse a lot of the code for like the business logic. So I'll touch briefly on this. We've been using Reagent, which is a React wrapper for Clojurescript. You can also use omnext or rum. There's another one, and for example, DataScript, which is like a client-side database, which allows you to do kind of constraint solving over a database. We used this in the beginning, but at one point it just became too slow. We had too much stuff in there, so that didn't really work for us. So we went back to just simple API requests. Yeah, so this is how it actually looks. So instead of JSX, you write in Clojurescript Hiccup, which are simply the Clojurescript data structures, so vectors. And so on the web, you would use it like this, like :div, :span. And on React Native, you actually need to transform the React Native views into components. So you would use it like this then. So then they're like functions, which you call. For people interested how you would convert it, you would do it like this. You would use the adapt React class to get the React Native components into the Reagent landscape. And the other way around, you would do as elements in Reagent to for instance, give your Reagent component back to React Native if you say you're using like a list view. Okay, so a bit about tooling on how you would actually bridge, how you would actually get Clojurescript on top of React Native. There are a couple of initiatives out there, and the first one was Natal, which we used for a bit, which uses web dev connections. So you would get a web dev connection to your phone or to your simulator, and you would swap out a JavaScript bundle there. Then something more robust came called Renatal, which worked over WebSockets and used Figwheel, which is this hot reloading thing for Clojurescript on the web, but then ported to React Native. And the one we currently use is Boot React Native, and that allows us to use our favorite build tool, Boot, in combination with WebSockets, with React Native. There is also an initiative going on called KTOA, which allows you to write your mobile app simultaneously with your web app. So it compiles Clojurescript for React Native, but also for the web. So just JavaScript bundles, which you would use with the DOM. So then you have really one code base to target mobile and the web at the same time. And there's also an initiative to port React Native to the desktop. So then you have it on macOS. So then you use like the native components in combination with React there. So a bit about the experience. If you get stuck, for example, like something doesn't compile anywhere because we have like 3 layers going on here, and it doesn't work in one layer, like where would you see it? So React Native comes with some tooling out of the box, some performance tooling, which you would see then in Chrome. It would be it would create a WebSocket connection to Chrome, which has like this really rich debugger. So you would use this debugger. It has source maps, and you can do like you're used to on the DOM. You can like pick, like you can inspect components. There's a nice red screen in React Native, which will show like, okay, I couldn't process this component, or there's just a mistake in your JavaScript. And of course, the Clojure Script compile errors would show on the terminal. You can do testing. We don't do it much. Guilty. But you can do integration tests with KIF. So you use the accessibility labels, which you normally do for screen readers. There's Appium, which taps more into the JavaScript runtime and allows you to manipulate there. Yeah, and of course you can do unit tests in Clojurescript or JavaScript itself. So there are some things which are not working so fine, and that's because they had to re-implement CSS for React Native, for iOS. They had to inline everything. They didn't want to go for like make their own CSS parser. So you would write all the styles inline, and that comes with a couple of problems, like responsiveness or other media queries you want to do. The current navigator is still super imperative, which doesn't really glue with the React mindset. And because React Native is moving super fast, there are like 1,000 contributors at this point, and they do a release bi-weekly. So they're now at release version 37, I believe, and they're breaking changes in every release. So if you want to keep up, you really need to go through the app constantly and test everything. If you get behind, it becomes really cumbersome to upgrade. Also, the tooling was very brittle in the beginning. That's more or less solved now. Okay, who knows what this is? Sorry? No. Screen sizes. These are the 27,000 different screen sizes of Android. With iOS, you just have a couple of devices, so you don't have this problem. But with Android, you have so many screen sizes to take care of. And that's a big problem if you don't have media queries or you don't have like the whole responsive styling, which we have on the web. It also comes with some other problems, like the whole inline styles. It's not really composable. It's and reusable because it's all just like maps, JavaScript maps. And yeah, I'm used to this really nice framework on the web called Bash CSS. And so we ventured out to build something ourselves. It's called Lookbook. It's open source, and you can pre-compile styling for React Native. It's kind of like utility-based CSS classes. So you would write something like this with the C macro, and it would compile to this. We didn't figure out responsiveness yet because we're not venturing into Android yet. But I kind of imagine it to look something like this, so you can like have media queries within this macro. Okay, the problem 2, tooling. Most of it is now solved with Boot React Native, but it's kind of hard to get started still. And for a long time, I had this this template to easily get started, but it kind of it fell behind because React Native is being upgraded so fast, so often. So this is something which definitely needs to be improved still. But then again, that's all due to the success of React Native, it moving so fast. Okay, so I would like to invite you all to give it a try. Try Boot React Native, or just React Native itself, or Clojure Script itself. Try it with the templating, the CSS templating we've made. Try out the app. Try how responsiveness it is. I'm on Twitter, so you can ask me questions there. I also have a UI newsletter. The link is in my Twitter bio. And here are some links, and thank you all for coming.